get everything together here because I'm flying solo at the moment. No co-pilot. Here we go. Okay, looks like we are good and broadcasting as best I can tell. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about businesses that are reimagining themselves, pivoting in our current circumstances, and some of the creative things that businesses are doing out there. And to kick things off, I'm actually going to play a brief excerpt from a video that I've just posted here in the group, a conversation that Ken did I think last week with one of our other members, Chris Turek. So I'm going to go ahead and pop out and let's bring that video over. I think, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off and go ahead and play the video. I'll see you back here in just a few minutes.
Howdy, Ken Cook here with the Prepared Group. I'm super excited to be talking to my good buddy Chris Durig. He's the owner of Mac Daddy Donuts. They are a fantastic shop here in McMinnville, Oregon. I've watched Chris over the years run 3 very successful businesses, and I wanted to chat with him today about how he's thriving during the COVID-19 shutdown. All right, so Chris, you have had this shop now for about a year, and kind of the first thing I saw during the shutdown was you had this crazy idea, to me it seemed, of putting just one post on the citizens group. Hey, I'm going to come deliver donuts up to Newburgh from McMinnville. And I thought to myself, man, that's great. We'll take advantage of that. But there was a lot of people that took advantage of that, it seems like.
It was actually almost like a mild freak out mode, because I'm like, I saw a post where people were, saying, hey, does anybody deliver donuts? And a bunch of people tagged us, and I was like, well, Newburgh, it's probably about 30 minutes away. I was like, I bet if we get like maybe 10 or 15 orders, it'd probably, it'd be worth it. Like, might as well. We're all having to, change things up anyway nowadays. So I put a post out there, hey, we're going to bring the party to you guys, all cool social distancing measures and whatnot, and who's interested. And we had like 100 orders in 30 minutes. It was like just nonstop dinging on our phones. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna break my internet. I was like, I need to kill this post like right now.
So how many orders did you end up getting?
We had well over 100 before we got it killed, and then we ended up kind of scheduling some other delivery dates after that for some of the ones that were staggering, that kept coming in afterwards. We would just bounce them to another day, and so now it's turned into kind of almost a regular weekly ordeal that we're getting into over there.
You like the rest of us started to kind of see the news of this shutdown happening. You saw what was going on in New York. You saw what was going on in Washington. What were you thinking kind of at that time as to how you thought it might impact your business?
Being a donut shop, when they start talking about essential businesses, and, I immediately kind of threw myself in a category of, hey, we're going to probably be not open like next week or the next 2 weeks. And if we are, we need to make sure that we've got every T crossed and I dotted. And I took it from the perspective of, we may not be able to open, and if we're able to do anything, it's going to be a blessing. And I'm going to make sure that we are as on top of it as we possibly can be to make sure that we can roll with all of these different social changes that we're having to adapt to.
And so you found out that you could be open, and you started to make some of those changes?
Yeah, so the first thing that we needed to do was, shift from, our comfort zone is being able to have people walk in and look at the board and order. Kids could watch what was being made. And so right out of the gate, it's, kill all indoor traffic, employees only. That way I can actually make sure that people are within a decent, space away from each other, being able to take a tape measure and say, okay, the fryer's over here. So the prep person, they're 6 feet away if they're over here. Got a decorating station that's over here. So I need to build an office to take orders now over here, and being able to kind of organize our internal space without having to worry about customer traffic flow, which did increase our shop size because now we don't have to worry about a lobby. But being able to now start thinking through, okay, well, if people can't come into the shop, then I need to make sure that they can visually get what they need online. And previously we were just taking orders, if somebody ordered delivery, it was through Facebook Messenger, which has been a great platform for, minor conversations. But now if you're having to walk through the entire ordering process, it's a administrative nightmare. And so we had to quickly adjust from getting away from Facebook Messenger, and we're still kind of in the process of developing some cooler ordering platforms.
All right. So I cut it off there. There's a lot more to this video, and I'll make sure to put a link down below so that you can get over and see the main video in its entirety as well. So let's actually jump over to, there we go. I think that's what I wanted. Yeah. All right. So this is our discussion today about businesses pivoting or reimagining themselves in all kinds of creative ways. I'm going to actually duck out of here, and let's just look at the slides a bit. So, this is a conversation that we had a few weeks ago about different ways that businesses are responding to our current situation. There are plenty of businesses that just have stopped altogether, whether it's that they're ordered by the government to be closed, or they just have chosen to wait all of this out. There are just businesses that are sitting on the sidelines. There are businesses that are doing things as usual, not really changing anything for this current situation. And then there are businesses that have found it either necessary or perhaps are being opportunistic about pivoting in response to the current circumstances. And we're going to be talking a bit about that approach, that kind of perspective that businesses have taken. But I want to be very, very clear. This is nothing new. This is actually something that we see throughout history. I was trying to think of some famous examples of this. Now, this is probably the most famous one, and most people don't know about this. There was a platform called Odeo. Odeo was a platform that was an online portal recommending podcasts and other recorded content. And then came along this thing called iTunes. So what did Odeo do? They saw the writing on the wall. They saw that iTunes was had this powerful financial backing of a major corporation, and they were not going to be able to survive. So they shifted into what has now become Twitter. Now, this is something that we see repeated in other big businesses. Here's an example of a company everybody knows called Starbucks. Now, Starbucks did not actually start out selling brewed coffee. They actually were the bulk of their business initially was selling espresso machines. That's where they became most famous. And they started in 1971, but they didn't open their first coffee shop selling brewed coffee until 1982, 11 years after they started as a business. So, shifting in and responding to circumstances or recognizing opportunities is nothing new for businesses. This is these are two major companies, internationally known brands that have gone through it before. So let's take a look at some of the other businesses that have pivoted or reimagined or repurposed themselves for the current situation. So, this is just a small sampling of many of the apparel producers around the world who are using their factories or allowing their factories to be used to develop some of the most necessary, most needed items out there, like masks and gowns and scrubs, etc., for the general public, for emergency medical workers, etc. And so there are a lot of pivots on that front too. Is how do you repurpose your equipment or your materials to respond to a current situation? Here's a couple of other examples. Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, and Procter & Gamble are two major conglomerates, and they have shifted a lot of their production, as have big and small distilleries around the world, to producing hand sanitizer, which is an alcohol-based product. They already had, some of the ingredients necessary in possession, and there is, as you probably know, a run on hand sanitizers. And so they were seeing a void that needed to be filled and shifted to reimagine their business, at least temporarily. Airbnb and hotels across the globe are basically empty right now. And so how do you utilize that empty space in a way that is going to be beneficial to our current situation? Well, a lot of the hotel rooms here in Portland, in New York City, and Airbnb space around the world is being used to help house people. And so, particularly people who are either have been identified as having COVID-19, or professionals who are assisting in the process of recovery or support for those individuals, etc. But here's a smaller scale pivot. There's I think this is in the London area. I can't quite remember where I found it, but there's a restaurant and wine shop, bottle shop, with a little bar called Top Cuvette, and they were just a neighborhood, eatery and wine shop, and they pivoted their business into what is now called Shop Cuvette, and they're delivering food and beverages and toiletries and all of those sorts of things to their customers. Here in my neighborhood, one of my favorite shops, Cheese Bar. It's a place that we go and buy, a whole selection of high-end artisan cheeses and stuff like that. Well, I just got an email from them that said that they are not just stocking cheese and all of the kind of specialty items that they normally do. They are stocking staples as well to help people who are in the immediate vicinity get those supplies without having to drive to or bike to or walk to a larger grocery store, or subject themselves to a lot more people. So they've pivoted as well. Signature Brew is this is kind of an interesting one, because what they've done is it's basically a brew pub. They have put together a pack of what they're calling pub in a box, and they're doing two things, right? So they're continuing their business by selling the things that they would normally sell on premise in their brew pub, but they are selling via delivery, and they are supporting out of work artists, musicians, to by employing them to do the delivery of these things. So in addition to the food that they're sending out, they're sending glassware, and then kind of some of the types of things that people might do while they're at a pub, maybe doing a quiz or have some sort of trivia thing, and then of course they're selling beer as well. So those are a few examples. Now, artists and the arts community in general is being hit hard at the moment, and I have sort of been watching what's been going on across the globe, with the arts organizations trying to find ways not only to continue to employ some of their artists, but to engage their community and share their art as best they can in this situation. Here's a couple of examples of things that are going on online. YouTube is a great platform to be able to share live performance. Some of it, in the case of that picture on the left, the National Theatre, that is a major arts organization based in London. They have, for the last several years, been broadcasting live productions to movie theaters around the globe. Well, these recordings that they are now broadcasting on YouTube, one new show a week, and I think this is going to be their fourth show. This is 12th Night, which is going to be broadcasting starting tomorrow, the 23rd of April, and they're using it as a fundraising opportunity. And so you'll see on the picture on the right, Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS is doing a fundraiser that they've raised so far $53,000 from this particular live broadcast. And this is the actor Michael Urie, who, if you're a fan of the old TV show Ugly Betty, you probably remember him. He performed a play called Buyer and Seller, really silly premise of a show, but if you're a theater geek like I am, you probably get a kick out of it. And he did it from his living room. We watched this the other night, and they raised a ton of money for BCEFA. So this is a great opportunity for arts organizations to continue to stay in touch and be connected with their audience and their community. Now, there's a website that I go to, and you should check this out if you'd like the arts. It's called goldstar.com, and I go there to see what discount tickets are available for live performance, classical music, theater, etc. in my community. Right now, of course, there's no live events, so they have found a way to repurpose their site to sell tickets to or give away free access to live events online. And this was just one that jumped out at me. Seinfeld trivia. So this is an event that you might experience at a local bar or something, and they are finding ways to engage people online. So a lot of if you've ever been to one of those trivia nights, there are businesses that host these trivia nights, and you pay to participate. Well, maybe this is hosted by one of those businesses that's just doing it online, and through Gold Star you can pay $10.99 to participate in the online Seinfeld trivia. All right, let's see what else we have. This was a kind of a funny one that just showed up in my inbox this morning while I was out for a walk, and I thought I would share it with you. So there is an entire industry of what's known as print-on-demand apparel. I have a bunch of T-shirts that I've designed, and it's really easy to just upload a logo onto a T-shirt and set a price and host it on their website, and then for many people, they'll run Facebook ads to these to these T-shirts or mugs or whatever it is that they are selling. I have a side business doing this, by the way, and today, I got an email from this company, Viral Style, which is one of the many print-on-demand platforms out there, saying, guess what? We have a new product. You can now customize cloth face masks with your custom logo. I thought, okay, they're thinking outside the box clearly. They're thinking opportunistically clearly, but ingenious, isn't it? Anyway, I thought I would share that with you. I thought it was a kind of a cool one. A couple of things that I'm going to highlight from members of our group, and here's the first one. Our friend Phil, who is here in the group, is working with a farm that is located somewhere between San Diego and Los Angeles that has gotten a great reputation for being one of the premium suppliers of interesting, unusual, exciting produce to restaurants all around the country. And I'm super excited to get some of this stuff here in my house. But what this farm decided to do, and it was a very, very smart move on their part, and I think you're seeing this in other markets as well, is all of this food that was going to restaurants which are now unable to operate at full capacity because most restaurants are, takeout or delivery only, or they're just closed, right? So now this food is not going to waste. It has been repurposed into a different business model. The business model being a sort of typical CSA, community-supported agriculture, where you could purchase a single box or subscribe to receive boxes every few weeks of really exciting, interesting, and unusual produce. And this is a pretty cool project, and I'm excited to see where Phil and his partners are going with this. And to some of the other projects that are out there similar to this, to keep some of the great quality food and supporting those farms that we all like to support, getting that stuff out into the market. Now, you may have noticed earlier this week, I posted a link to a New York Times article. This is an article talking a little bit about what some businesses are doing right now to address their current circumstances. This is a guy named John Capon, who is the principal at a high-end wine shop in Manhattan called Akron, Maryland Condit, and his business is built around selling high-end wines to high-end wine buyers and collectors, but also they have a huge auction program as well. And he has been doing tastings, live tastings of wine online, and then they're selling through their website wine for delivery or curbside pickup or other ways that they're getting wine into consumers' hands. Now, you might think this is ingenious. You might think, oh, this is a really cool thing. But I got to tell you, John is not all that original in this, because about 20 years ago now, there was this other guy who did tastings online back when YouTube was just getting started. You may recognize him if you're a marketing geek like I am. This is a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, and this is back when I knew him before he swore every third word, but he used to do this online wine tasting thing that they broadcast through their website and on YouTube. And they sold a ton of wine through his family's wine shop, Wine Library. So this is something that I think we're going to see a lot more of. Is that the down and dirty version of QVC or I was going to say HGTV. That's not it. What is the proper name for Home Shopping Network, HSN? Right? You're going to see a lot more businesses trying to repurpose themselves on a different channel to continue to stay in touch with their audience. Something that I saw on television a week ago or 2 weeks ago. This is a place just down the street from me here in Southeast Portland called Quarter World. Quarter World is a sort of old-fashioned classic arcade, and they've had to close. But the owner was really smart about how can I repurpose these machines, which are highly profitable for us, during this period when people cannot come into my establishment. So what did they do? They decided to offer their machines for rent. And so now I don't think the program is open anymore. I think they stopped doing this, but basically they sent out a notice to their mailing list, and probably people found them through social media, saying, hey, we got these machines. We can't use them. We will rent them on a monthly basis to you. We'll come and bring them to your house. And so these 300-pound machines were loaded onto trucks and brought to houses across the Portland metro area, where they are being enjoyed by consumers who, I guess, always had a fantasy of owning pinball machines. So another kind of cool, smart repurposing or reimagining of a business model. I'm about to click over to the next slide, and I have a funny feeling that the person who's featured on this next slide might be watching right now. This is our very own member, Elise Holcomb, who together with her husband owns OsteoStrong here in Happy Valley. And they have a wellness business that is a physical facility where they welcome their members into the facility to work on their equipment. And at the moment, they have their doors closed. So they have found ways to continue the relationship with their members as well as the community beyond their membership. Yeah, thanks, Elise. OMG, indeed. Anyway, Elise has been doing a super job at running a challenge here on Facebook, as well as her team doing stuff behind the scenes for their members through a member-only channel as well, where they're continuing to connect with the the clientele that they are supporting during this period of time. So a really smart shift, and a lot of businesses that have a similar business model, like traditional gyms, etc., are looking for ways to continue to connect with their clientele. Elise has done a great job, and hopefully she's not going to have to keep doing this for much longer, and we'll be able to reopen her doors. Now, the other week, I got a phone call from somebody saying, I am I'm trying to remember, a professional CDL coach. I'm trying to remember exactly how his business is set up. Let me come back on for just a moment here. So he told me that his business is training people who are big rig drivers, getting them ready for their CDL test. And right now, obviously, he can't get into a cab together with somebody to teach them how to, or help them learn how to drive a tractor trailer. But he was interested in creating an online course. And I said, look, I'd love to help you. I can, so point you toward a bunch of resources. My fee for doing this may be a little bit outside of your budget, particularly at the moment when you don't have a ton of income coming in. So we point you toward some resources. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is because the resources that I pointed him to are actually part of another business model that I use in my own business. So let me pull this back up here. I think, there we go. So this is a website, one of many websites that I have, pointing people toward something for which I am an affiliate. This is, it looks like, Ken, you're trying to get in, and for some reason you're having trouble. So my apologies. Let me see if I can get that link off to you one more time, but I think you should have the correct one. So this is a program that I will often refer people to who are interested in adding income through blogging or creating digital products or courses, or they want to understand how to build an email list or do email marketing. And they're not necessarily going to be able to afford my fee for doing this. And so I send them off to my good friend, David Perdue, who's pictured with me off to the right there, and his NAMS Profit Planner program. And when they click that Learn More button, or click any of the other links on this site for that matter, I get paid a commission if they buy what's on the other side. So again, it's an extension of my business, but I'm helping people who are looking for a solution to a current problem, which is, how do I continue to bring income into my business at a time when it doesn't seem to be practical for me to run my business as I have in the past. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the approach to reimagining your own business. There are sort of three different aspects that you need to explore when it comes to the business model that you might adopt in terms of reimagining your business. First, you want to sort of think about the value proposition. So what value do you deliver with the product or service that you have? The second thing is the value network. So how do you deliver and monetize the product or service that you are offering? And then finally, to whom are you going to be offering this thing? So let's go through each of these here. First is the value proposition. First of all, think about unmet needs that are out there and how you can shift what you're doing to be able to supply people with the thing that they may need at this point in time. So we saw that earlier when we were looking at some of those major corporations doing hand sanitizer production, or shifting their apparel production to much needed masks or scrubs, etc. So that's an example. There's kids all over the world who are being homeschooled at the moment, and there's there's an entire industry out there that is popping up, supporting parents in helping their kids through this distance learning program. Great solution. So you can provide complete solutions beyond what your business might specialize in by working with partners, right? We'll talk a little bit about that again in a moment. But for example, there was a story I was reading about a trucking company that works together with logistics companies to be able to get food out to the community. Now, it was the trucking company's idea, but they said, "Look, all we have is the vehicle. We don't have the food, but we have friends and partners who work in logistics. Maybe we can talk to them about ways we can work together." And so that's what they did. Create new value with existing assets. What do you have that you can reposition from something that's nice to have to something that people really need at this point in time? Rethink about your product or service dichotomy. So make your service a product or vice versa. So this is a good example that we were just talking about, that CDL test coach, the guy who trains people to drive trucks. He had an idea, well, how do I take my service, teaching people, and turn it into a digital product, a course? So that's another example. Focus on what customers love about what you do. So make this. Here's an example that I read about. Wrigley Gum gave away their chewing gum to support the original business of selling baking goods, and then they realized that people liked the gum more than the baking goods. So anyway, let's keep moving forward here. Value network. This is sort of how do you get the thing that you're offering into people's hands. So finding new ways to deliver your value. If you are doing something in your regular business that is real world physical business, can you shift to electronic delivery of what you would normally sell? That and what other channels might be possible. Also, maybe at this point in time, you might reconsider things that you thought were too unaligned with the business that you had previously. Could you be doing things faster, better, cheaper in the way that you're getting things to people by considering things that methods of delivery, for example, that you might not have considered because you thought they were too cheap or inappropriate in the your previous incarnation? How can you connect to people through partnerships? This is something that we've talked about in a few of our presentations here. Where can you be of value to somebody else's customer at this moment? Repurposing your assets. So what new products or services can you create from existing resources that you have? A lot of us have a great deal of knowledge and expertise that we might have been giving away. Well, we could certainly repackage that and sell it, for example. Monetize things differently. This was a great piece of what Chris talked about in that video at the beginning, finding a novel way to get paid, right? The idea of him closing up his shop, but still being able to accept orders and then do this whole delivery program. That was a very, very smart move on his part. And then finally, it's, who can you be selling to or servicing who you have not necessarily been servicing before? So who else, finding new clients, who else could use your products or service? Particularly in this time, there are things around healthcare, there are things around food, there's things around education that you might be able to offer some assistance with that might not have been part of your previous product or service offering. Reposition offerings with existing clients. So take what you have and say, how can I take advantage of the range of assets or offerings that we have and reposition them in a way that our clients could benefit from them. That's The folks over at OsteoStrong are doing that right now by just shifting their in-person wellness work that they do to a remote arrangement where they're still helping support the same people, just through telephone and video and virtual interactions. Orchestrate the ecosystem. So what can you do with partners that you're unable to do alone? There's all this opportunity out there for partnership that I think very, very few businesses ever think to take advantage of. And really right now is probably the best time to reach out to those who might be potential partners, those maybe who you have been uncomfortable approaching in the past, and connect with them. So that's kind of our overall discussion for the day. If you have questions or want to share some comments, feel free to do so in the comment stream. And Ken, I'm not quite sure why you haven't been able to get in, but if you want to give it a try one more time, we certainly would love to have you join the conversation here. So I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. There's usually a little delay here, so I'm going to just vamp for a moment to give you a chance to ask if there is anything. And if we don't get Ken in here, then I may just wrap things up for the day. By the way, just want to extend an invitation for anybody in the group or anybody who has a business owner outside of this group. First, invite them into the group. This is a non-sales environment where we are here to make other businesses aware of who we are, what we do, and obviously offer the opportunity to take advantage of each other's services. But if there's somebody who you think could benefit, or you yourself could benefit from connecting with myself or Ken on a strategy call, we would invite you to take advantage of that simply by heading over to thepreparedgroup.com/45min 45 minutes. It's to get on a call with one of us and chat about what's going on in your business and see if we can be of help in either pointing you in the right direction or assisting you in some other way in dealing with the issues that you may be confronted with at this point in time. So I think we'll probably wrap things up here. That was a ton of stuff. I have been talking straight for 37 minutes. I could probably use a glass of water now. And please do not hesitate to reach out. And for those of you who would like to join us here in our weekly presentation, reach out to Ken or to me. We'd love to feature you as much as possible to get as much exposure for your business and interaction among the members of this group as well. So I'm going to sign off now. My name is David Baer with The Prepared Group. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for the last 38 minutes, and I look forward to engaging with you again next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. All right, take care now. Bye-bye.